Welcome, everyone. My name is Dina Zuckerberg, and I'm so glad you're joining us for this broadcast in our virtual summer reading series. Whether you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, you can use the live chat to say hi and let us know where you're joining us from. We'd love to hear where you are joining us from. Tonight's book is about finding your superpower. Please share with us in the live chat what you consider to be your superpower. For me, it is using my voice to empower others. So again, we'd love to hear where you're joining us from and what you think is your superpower. One note is that this broadcast is live and public, as are your comments. We love hearing from you and may display your questions and comments during the broadcast, so send them in. And we have someone joining us from Westchester, New York. Hi, Katie. Thank you for joining us again with Clara. We're so excited to have you. And hi to Kim, who's joining us from Westchester, New York. So glad you're joining us today. And welcome again to those who've just tuned in. Let us know where you're joining us from and what you think your superpower is, if you have one. And we have someone who says she is joining with her children from somewhere up in New York, Carly. So nice to have you and your children joining us, so thank you. And we are so excited that tonight we're giving away 2 signed copies of the Too Tall Giraffe to 2 lucky winners. We'll select 1 winner from our list of registrants, and 1 winner will be chosen from participants in the live chat. So be sure to sign in on Facebook or to your Google account on YouTube and let us know you're here. So let us know where you're joining us from. The winners will be announced at the end of the broadcast, so be sure to stick around and find out if you won. So again, we are so excited to have you joining us, and let us know where you're joining us from. And again, we'd love to hear what your superpower is, because that is the theme for tonight. My name is Dina Zuckerberg, and I am the Director of Family Programs at myFace. For 70 years, myFace has been dedicated to changing the faces and transforming the lives of children and adults with facial differences by providing access to holistic, comprehensive care, education, resources, and support that paves the way for better outcomes. myFace aims to provide individuals and families with the care, tools, and information they need to successfully navigate their journey and let them know that they are never alone. Before I bring on tonight's guest, we have more read-alouds coming up in August. You can RSVP to receive invites to the myFace Virtual Summer Series at myface.org/summer series. Now to introduce our special guest. Christine Maier is an author, coach, and speaker empowering individuals and organizations to turn obstacles into opportunities to understand their beauty, purpose, and power. Christine spent years believing a cleft lip and palate, being the shortest kid in class, and a learning disability were holding her back. But the opposite was true. They taught her that what makes us different is really the foundation for understanding our superpowers. Thank you, Christine, for being with us tonight.
Hi, Dina. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome. So excited to have you today. So, as someone who was born with a cleft lip, a hearing loss, and no vision in my left eye, I too didn't see my true self-worth, my superpower, until much later in my life. So I'm so glad that you have written this book the Too Tall Giraffe for children. I think we each have a superpower to share with the world. And before you read your book, The Too Tall Giraffe, can you share with us why you wanted to write this book?
Yeah, I actually originally wrote this book when I was in high school. And when I think back to that time, I think that was when I was first really discovering my own superpowers. And so now, as an adult, when I'm finally starting to embrace them fully, I realized how important it is for young kids and older kids to look for and find and explore and become their superpowers. And the sooner you can do it, the better off you are.
I agree. I think the younger we can educate young kids and to bring these stories to them at a younger age, I think it changes the whole trajectory moving forward. So I agree.
Absolutely.
I'd love to have you now share your beautiful story with us.
Thank you. All right, so The Too Tall Giraffe. Savannah eagerly packed her bag for her first day of school in her new neighborhood in Kenya. She was excited and couldn't remember where she left the acacia leaves she'd gathered. "Are those the leaves on your mat?" her mother asked. Savannah whistled goodbye to her brother, Forrest, and paced to school with her mom and dad. When Savannah reached the classroom, she smiled down on her classmates, Henry, Dawn, and Addison. But they didn't smile back. Instead, they whispered about her. "Did you see how tall she is? Giraffe calves aren't that tall. Do you think Mrs. Branch is tricking us?" After school, Savannah told her brother about her day. She confessed how the other calves said she was too tall to be in their class. "Forrest, stay small like the giraffes in this neighborhood." "How do I do that?" he asked. Savannah's mom wanted to cheer her up, so she asked for help hanging pictures in the new living room. Savannah suggested they hang the photos low so Forrest could see them too. "Good idea. Giraffes come in different sizes. It helps us share the leaves." Savannah tried to play with her classmates, but they weren't being very nice. She liked pretending she was different animals when she played her favorite game, Sticks. "You're too tall to play Sticks." "I don't want to play with Too Tall Giraffe." "Too Tall Giraffe," they teased. During recess, Savannah asked a quiet giraffe if he would play, but he wouldn't play either. "Maybe I can help you with your homework instead," she offered. "You're too tall to see my notes," he said. At home, Savannah tried to play with her brother. She told him to climb on her back and she would give him a ride around the yard. "You're too tall, I can't climb up," he said. Mom brought a stool to help Forrest climb onto Savannah's back. She once again felt she was too tall and didn't want to play anymore. "I'm tired. Better go do my homework," she said. "Can we play later?" Forrest asked. The next morning, Savannah was not in the mood to learn about the school's most important topic, lions. She didn't even want to answer when Mrs. Branch asked the class which animal is the most dangerous to giraffes. "Hyenas?" "Leopards," another one guessed. "Lions," Savannah whispered. Mrs. Branch happily hummed at Savannah's correct answer. Savannah was happy until other calves accused her of cheating. "She can probably see the answers with her long neck," they whispered. The next morning, Savannah was very sad about how the other giraffes treated her. She didn't want to go to school anymore and told her mom she didn't feel well. "You don't have a temperature," her mom said. But Savannah pretended to be sick until her mom took her to see Dr. Leaf. He couldn't find anything wrong and asked her to snort for him. She wasn't excited when Dr. Leaf told her she had the strongest snort he'd ever heard. You'll be a great lookout protecting your friends. What friends? She asked. Mrs. Branch whistled when Savannah joined the class again. She offered to review the missed lessons about lions after school. But the other calves weren't so excited. Her throat was probably sore because it's so long, one said. I still don't believe she's a calf, another said. One day, while walking to school, Savannah observed something lurking in the grass. She asked the other giraffes if they had seen it, but they weren't tall enough to see over the fence. Before lunch, Mrs. Branch announced there were lions in the area, and they would need to eat in a different yard. She also canceled recess, which angered the class. I didn't see any lions, one said. No recess. I was going to be a rhino when we played sticks, they whined. At lunch, Savannah rushed to the greenest, tastiest looking leaves and began eating. After a few bites, she noticed the other giraffes couldn't reach the leaves on the trees. I'm hungry. Stick your tongue out more. I'm doing the best I can. After watching the others for a few minutes, Savannah knew what she had to do. Even though the other calves were mean to her, she dropped some leaves for them to eat. Thank you. A noise from outside the yard interrupted the eating giraffes. Savannah looked over the fence and saw the scariest lion ever. Even though she was scared, Savannah remembered Mrs. Branch's lesson about lions. She let out the loudest snort she could muster to alert the other giraffes of the danger. When they saw how scared she was, they galloped away. Savannah galloped home as fast as she could, worried she hadn't snorted right. Savannah told her mom what happened at school and how worried she was when the calves got hurt. We'll find out tomorrow when they come to your birthday party, her mom said. None of them will come anyway, Savannah answered. The next day, Savannah turned 4. She prepared to spend the day with her family, worried about her classmates. But one by one, the calves from her class showed up at her house for the party. Thanks for saving us from the lions yesterday. We're lucky you're so tall and could see the lions, another answered. Happy birthday, Savannah, they answered in unison. Happy birthday, Savannah, and welcome back to Dina. I'm excited to talk about this book a little bit more and everyone's superpower.
Yes, so thank you. That I just love your book, and I love the story. And I just want to remind our viewers to let us know, what did you think? Let us know what you loved most about the book, the comments, or any questions you have. And if you haven't let us know what your superpower is, because I'm going to be asking Christine what her superpower is too. And so submit your questions now and we'll share them on air. So I will start by asking you, why did you choose to write with animals instead of humans?
I think there's 2 reasons for that. One is that I love giraffes. And the other one is that I like to look at, problems that I've had to work through myself and try to find a way to make that story a little bit more universal. And I think especially with kids, one way to do that is to choose a different forum for that. In this case, it was choosing giraffes instead of people.
So can you share with us, because I share with us what your craniofacial difference that you were born with and how that has impacted your life? And I'm sure it was one of the driving forces for you writing this book, I would think.
Yeah, I was born with a unilateral left complete cleft lip and palate. I know my mom said that my doctor said it was one of the widest ones he'd ever seen, and I actually have my medical notes, and it does make mention of that. So it was, always a journey. I feel like I always felt like it was normal. Like, didn't everybody go off and go to doctor's appointments and have surgeries? But obviously not. But I think I had a pretty healthy relationship, with it. But there were always times when kids would ask, why is your nose crooked, and why were you out of school, and little questions like that. Definitely leave an impression over the course of your life. And I always find it's a really great opportunity to start a discussion about what a cleft lip and palate is, and how I've had 25 surgeries and the challenges that come with that, especially as an adult.
Yeah. What would you say to kids or parents who look different and are trying to embrace it?
I always think the world is full of people trying to blend in and look the same, but where I find the world and life the most interesting is where things are different, where we can have a discussion about anything that's kind of different, challenges that people face. And so I would tell anybody who, has a cleft lip and palate or has any difference that is a part of your superpower, because that is what makes you interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's, otherwise we would all look the same, act the same, and there would be nothing to talk about. There would be nothing to discuss that would help stretch our thinking, our behavior, how we treat other people. If you've never had a craniofacial difference, you'll never know what it's like. But if you know that and you start to have a conversation about it, you can learn a little bit about somebody else's experience, and maybe it'll make you a kinder, better educated person.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have the conversations, and I think what's so beautiful about humans is that we all are so different from each other. And I think to embrace those differences, to learn about those differences, and then through learning about those differences, you'll start to learn about all the things that you also are the same for you, like similar things that you like to do and all of that. So I think what you said is so right. So what did you learn when writing the book?
When I tried to write it, so when I wrote it in high school, I left it in school and I never saw it again. And so I had to rewrite it from memory, like, we'll just say roughly 20 years later. But then, because I was older, a little more mature, I realized that the story needed a little bit more depth to it. And so I learned how to sort of dig deeper into some of my own past experiences and see how they had shaped me, and how to sort of put them into a story that maybe they'll connect with, kids and families a little bit more. One of those was actually the part about the giraffes accusing Savannah of cheating. And that was actually something that happened to me in high school. So I think, when we look back, we can look at these bad experiences and be sad or mad about them, or we can use them as a vehicle to help others deal with those same issues.
Absolutely. So we have a question from the audience. She's saying that she loves your story. She said, I did feel sad when no one wanted to play, but I felt full of joy by the end. How did you write this story? Was it something that poured out of you, or did you spend many sessions coming up with each page?
I think I agonized over every page many, many times. I was just looking recently at all my drafts, and there were actually only about 8 of them, which actually I feel like there's probably 50. So I'd written it probably a couple times, and then I do a writing group, and so I workshopped it probably 3 times there and got a lot more depth in it. But then I had to go to illustration, And so my illustrator is drawing things, and I had to adjust all of the language to match the illustration. So some things got taken out, some things got put in, but that same part of the story was there. But I did at the very end have to agonize over every single line, every word of it, to make sure that it was simple and concise, but shared the message.
So how did you find your illustrator?
I met her online through some friends. She actually lives in Berlin, Germany, and she has Asperger's. So it was really a very nice connection. She really connected with the story too. And so I asked her, and she immediately agreed to do it.
I love that. I love the connection. So I've noticed, and we talked about, that you are an avid fan of the Olympics. So have there been any stories from those games that inspired you?
Yeah, I think it was Sunday morning. It was the women's road race, and there was a racer from Austria and a racer from the Netherlands. And the racer from Austria, she didn't have a team. She was, I don't want to say she was unknown, but she was not, I think, the biggest threat in that race. And she pulled away from the pack, and they seemed to have all missed her. And so when the girl from the Netherlands came in winning the silver, she thought she won gold. And what I love about that story is that, sometimes we can feel invisible, whether it's, a craniofacial difference or some other issue. We just feel invisible sometimes, and we think it's a problem. But in this case, that allowed this racer, she had no competition because they didn't even know to look at her. And I think that allows us to get ahead in life sometimes, because it gives us a power that other people give us a power to get ahead. And it's sort of a crazy kind of thing, but I think we can leverage it in life.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that idea. So I'm curious, what advice would you have for an aspiring writer who may want to share their own story?
Write it, and then rewrite it, and then edit it again. I did, what did I do? I do a writing group. I started in the local high school, an evening class, and I loved the instructor, so I've been working with her for a while. But you don't have to do a class. You could just find another group of people who are writing and share your stories and get feedback, because some of the best feedback I've gotten, or some of the best parts of the story, have come from feedback or little hints of things that people said that triggered something to add into stories.
So we have a question from the audience. Somebody's asking, I've learned kids are easier to teach when it comes to anti-bullying and acceptance. How do we get this across adults who are teaching children to discriminate against special children?
That's a hard one. There are some people who I don't even think are aware of their thoughts and their discriminatory nature. And they're really hard, because you can't, if you go to them and say you're discriminating against me or you're hurt my feelings, they're not going to feel that. So sometimes you have to find a way that taps into their own emotions on it. And that's sort of something I kind of tried to do with the Too Tall Giraffe, is that it's not even my story, because I'm the short little kid. So this really taps into a lot of like taller kids, you would think, but that story is still universal. So sometimes you have to find where somebody else has their own hurt, and that is how you're going to sort of change them, because you can't fight emotion with logic. You have to fight emotion with emotion.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that. So why do you believe kindness and inclusivity should be taught to every child? Well, let me say, I believe that. Do you believe that? And if so, yeah, why?
Yeah. You know what? We all have something that somebody else doesn't like about us. They may not know it. We may not even realize it, but there's always something, somebody's always going to have something they want to say or think about us. But once we start to see how other people feel, and once we start to understand how we feel when it happens to us, it makes it, I think it stirs something in us to be kinder and to take that leap to include somebody in something that we didn't originally think of. And it's really rewarding when we can sort of find that person who's a little bit that outsider and bring them in. It's so rewarding, not because we did something great, but because we made somebody feel good.
Yeah, I always say kindness is like a boomerang. When you put it out there, you put kindness out there, it usually comes back to you.
Yeah.
And so I think that image is really powerful to think it like that, because, and it's kind of like this well-kept secret. The more kindness you put out there, the more you'll get back as well. So it works both ways. So let me see. We have another question from the audience. So similar, but Sean's asking, why did you write this book? Which I think we kind of touched on, but maybe.
Yeah, when I think of those, from when I wrote it in high school until now, it never left me. And that's like one of those things where something is important when it sticks with you for 20 years. So once I realized I wanted to redo it, I didn't have another option but to do it.
Right.
It never occurred to me after I started to work on it that it wasn't going to happen at some point.
Yeah. Was it hard for you to write? I mean, or did the story come out quickly?
I think the story came out quickly. The refining it is, and I enjoy the editing process, but that's always hard because that's where you're really trying to hit on all of those notes. Like when you're first writing it, you can just you can write something really bad.
Right.
And that's okay the first time, but once you're editing it, now you got to make it good.
Right. I'm an aspiring writer, but I always think that I'm not a good writer. And so it's hard for me to just put the words down. But what I've learned is you just got to put the words down and then you can edit it, just get the thoughts out. So I think I've started to do more writing this year, but it's definitely, I always think it's a skill, but I've learned that if you just say what you feel and think, the rest will come afterwards. And there's always somebody out there that can help you edit it. I've also learned. So
yes, I always tell myself you have to write ugly today. Just write ugly, and it's so much easier. And then you can clean it up later. And yes, there are editors out there, I promise you, because I'm not the best with grammar rules and all those little things. So yeah.
So last question. What do you think the main message is that, let me ask, before I ask the last question, okay. I do want to ask, what do you think your superpower is?
What is my superpower? I think it's actually writing, and it's not because I'm the best writer, but I think it's because it's something I struggled with for so long that now that I've sort of, I don't want to say mastered it because that's a strong word, but now that I've conquered that challenge, I know how important it is for other people to overcome that challenge and to learn. So I think that's one of my superpowers.
I love that. All right, and then last question, what do you think the main message is that everyone should take away from your book? What is it that you want to leave them with? That
whatever you think is the thing that is your biggest challenge, somewhere down the line, maybe even today at this moment, you'll find a strength from yourself from that challenge. It's going to make you grow. It's going to make you stronger, and it's going to help you for the rest of your life.
It's great. I love that. And it's a great thing to end on. And Christine, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. It was a real pleasure. And please share your appreciation to Christine and her book in the live chat. Let us know if you enjoyed tonight. And if you don't already own the Too Tall Giraffe, you can find or request the book at your local bookstore or on Amazon.com. Is there any place else, Christine, that I'm not suggesting?
No, last time I checked, it was on Target and Walmart, so it's
Great.
available pretty much wherever books are sold.
Great. Thank you. So we hope to see you at our next author read aloud and Q&A on Tuesday evening, August 10th. So we will be skipping next week. So in 2 weeks at 6 p.m. Eastern Time with Patricia Simon, author of Simon and the Bully. So don't forget to RSVP at myface.org/summer series to get email reminders about all of the summer's exciting events. Also join us for the next Transforming Lives webinar on August 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's right after this event ends, entitled Creating Building Blocks for Homeschool and Social Connections for Children with Craniofacial Diagnoses. We've also recently launched a new monthly broadcast and podcast called myFace, My Story, which I'm particularly excited about, that you can find on Spotify, Apple, and Google podcast services, as well as on myFace's YouTube and Facebook channels. Our next live broadcast of myFace, My Story is tomorrow, Wednesday, July 28th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So please join us then. We have a new initiative designed to provide families with a unique opportunity to make an impact in their own communities while also raising funds and awareness for myFace programming called the myFace Wonder Project Summer Kindness Campaign. And I'm particularly excited about this because it's a great opportunity for families with kids to think about how they want to spread kindness over the summer while giving back to myFace. So to help our children and adults that we serve. So you can learn more about the campaign by visiting our website at myface.org. Finally, be sure to join us on September 19th for our annual Races for Faces event. This year, we will be hosting the event virtually and in person, and we are so excited to be together again with our supporters. To sign up and to participate and to learn more about this year's event, visit racesforfaces.org. Now, this is for the exciting part, it's time to announce the winners of our signed books. So if you are selected as a winner, please email me at dina@myface.org to coordinate the delivery of your book. So our first winner is Carly G. And so Carly G, if you are watching, please email me at dina@myface.org to coordinate delivery of your book. And the other winner is Christine L. So again, please email me at dina@myface.org. So again, it's Carly G and Christine L. We are so excited. And it's really been a pleasure. And thank you for sharing your time with us today. And we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Bye.